Hey everyone, it's Nikki, and boy, do I have a video for you. Today I'm going to be looking at some fanfiction that I wrote when I was 14 years old. Lord of the Flies fanfiction. Lord of the Flies / fanfiction. If you're new here, that's all you need to know about me as a person. For a bit more context, I am now a sophomore in college. I took a gap year. I'm 20 years old, who is majoring in creative writing and minoring in cinema studies and now East Asian studies. And I have dreams of being a screenwriter for film, television, video games, comic books, graphic novels, anything under the sun, basically. I'm also somewhat interested in writing literature like poetry and short stories, but I'm more interested in visual media, or writing for visual media. So, a bit of context, I read Lord of the Flies when I was in 8th grade, and it's still one of my favorite books to this day. But also when I was in 8th grade was when I created my Tumblr account. I created it in 2012 after I just turned 13, probably the only website on the internet that I signed up for when I was actually 13 years old. I had DeviantArt, Facebook, Twitter, all this stuff before I was 13 because I was a rebel. But I made my Tumblr when I was 13 in 2012 and was pretty involved in just mostly anime and just other fandoms like that at the time. However, I was a really big fan of Lord of the Flies. It really impacted me. I don't know why, but it's just, for whatever reason, I don't know if this is still the case, but at least back in 2013, 2014, like that kind of time, there was a substantial following for Lord of the Flies on Tumblr, of all things. Both of the book and of the 2 movies, which I've seen both movies. They're interesting to say the least. But I was involved in that fandom and I was reading fan fiction written by other people, and when I was in 8th grade, I would write this fanfiction during study hall, and I published 2 of them to my fanfiction.net account, which are still up because I have no shame. As I mentioned earlier, these are both / fanfiction, although one of them is slight / fanfiction, and we'll get into that when we read it. These were both / of Jack, Meridew, and Roger. Roger was my favorite character because, again, I was an edgy teen, and I just really thought the idea of like a character with no morals was very interesting. He was my favorite character. I just found him fascinating, although Piggy was my second favorite character, so there's a bit of tension between those 2, shall we say. But yeah, I just want to look into this fanfiction, see what was kind of going on in my head when I was in middle school, or towards the end of middle school. These were published in May 2013, so like a month before school was out, and I had just turned 14. Yeah, mercifully, these are both pretty short. One of them is 471 words, and the other is 882 words. For whatever reason, I imagined that they were like thousands of words long. I'm like, oh god, I'm just gonna like sit here reading these like short stories that are just terrible and ugh. But they're actually pretty short, so I made life easier for both myself and for you guys who are sitting there cringing at home. Alright, let's start with the first one I published, which I published them both on the same day, but this one I published first, called A Day in the Sun. And the synopsis is, Roger decides to make a gift for his beloved chief, slight Jack / Roger. So that's what's going on in this story. And it is in the friendship / romance category, and the characters are Jack, Morris, and Roger. Also, when I was in middle school, I'm pretty sure we called him Maurice, but I think the British pronunciation is Morris. I know the E.M. Forster novel, they pronounce it Morris. I'm gonna call him Morris just because of that reason, but if it is Maurice, oh well. A tan boy with dark hair walked along the shoreline. His shaggy locks hung down in his face as he scouted the beach for seashells. He intended to make a necklace of some sort for a particular red-headed choir boy. He wasn't sure why. Perhaps because the freckled boy was chief. Right off the bat, there's a lot of telling here. There's not a lot of showing. Roger, a cheery voice called from the trees. The dark boy glared at the familiar face. Morris, the taller brunette, grinned. What are you doing out here all on your lonesome? He asked. Wait, don't answer. You'll probably just snap at me like you always do. Roger sighed. What is this characterization of Morris? He's like this kind of little Genki boy, but he's like, oh, don't snap at me. I'm like, what is going on here? I guess we'll get into that. I suppose there's no getting rid of you, the older boy muttered. Morris grinned. It's like a tsundere thing going on here. I guess Roger would be the tsundere one, and I don't know what Morris's role in this story is. So are you going to tell me what you're doing? I'm making a present for the chief. Morris paused. Jack or Ralph? The mere mention of the blonde's name, Roger sent Morris a death glare. Morris looked down at him in fear. Right, Jack, of course. Who else is chief? Certainly not Ralph. It is kind of odd to have this, like, tiny little ball of evil and just like looking down at him in fear. Because normally you'd be like looking up like, oh shit, I'm about to get beat up. But I don't know if Roger was canonically short in the book. I don't remember. It's been a while since I read it, and I don't remember if Morris was tall. It's interesting to like think about how much of this stuff was actually in the book, how much of this stuff was fan invention, how much of it was my personal headcanon. Obviously, the book does like describe them as tan, especially because like they're on the beach. As Morris babbled on about the many ways Jack Merridew was superior to Ralph, Roger continued on his quest to find the most beautiful seashells for his leader. Roger liked Jack. It was an odd relationship. The only other boy Roger tolerated was Morris, and his feelings towards Jack were quite different and queer. Wow, that double entendre. Really, 14-year-old me was really literary right there. He wanted to punch Jack in the face and beat the snot out of the older boy, but here he was, fantasizing about the look of gratitude on Jack's face when he presented his token of love, and receiving a hug from the tall redhead, and perhaps a kiss too. A hug. And I guess it's his fantasy, but that is a little weird. The kiss, like, makes sense, but I think that this is a recurring theme in a lot of fanfiction, or at least my envisioning of Jack and Roger's relationship is like Roger hates him, but he loves him. Ooh, Roger, look at this one. You think he'd like it? Giggled Morris. Roger's eyes widened as he caught a glimpse of a colorful seashell resembling an abalone. Where are abalones native to? I don't even know. Well, if there's a name for them in the UK, they must be in the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. What do you think? Morris asked again. Roger simply nodded and took the shell from the taller child. At least Morris was good for something. Wow, what a savage. I do like lines like that, though, that kind of come from Roger's point of view. I don't think I had any idea of, like, point of view as I was writing this beyond first person and third person. I think that this story is trying to be a fairly close third person with Roger as the point of view character, but there aren't a lot of instances of that except for, like, that sentence. The sunset on Castle Rock was a sight to behold. Roger thought it was the best view on the island, especially in the absence of a particular blonde and corpulent child. Wow, just really coming for Piggy right there. Sorry, Piggy. He didn't mind the twins, though, as long as they didn't speak to him. What did Sam and Eric do? Though he had kept the shell Morris gave him, the gloomy introvert... Introvert? What? Why is he an introvert? Though he had kept the shell Morris gave him, the gloomy introvert decided to make a wreath of flowers instead. He didn't like the idea as much, as flowers wilt and die, whereas the message Roger was trying to send Jack was, I'll always be there by your side. But Morris assured him Jack would like it. Wow, I guess Roger's really poetic too. Roger presented his gift to the chief just before the sun went down. Jack looked at him with curiosity, but the dark child ran away before the singer could ask him anything. There's a comma splice there. But other than that, it's kind of a weird note to end on. I do like that it's kind of like pre-slash or whatever, and that it's not resolved. But, I don't know, just like Roger just scampering off into the woods. This is just kind of a weird thing. And I still think that Morris's character in this story is odd. Like, to have him be like giggling like a little schoolboy, it's a little strange. And Jack is in this story, although I don't feel like I should have put him in the banner as one of the featured characters, but anyway, not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Alright, but this story on the other hand, I remember writing the ending of this story, although I don't remember any of the build-up to that ending, but the punchline, I was like, yeah. So, you know this story is going to be good because it has the title of a Marina in the Diamond song as its title. So, Evil, spelled E-V-O-L, which is love backwards. Get it? Evil. Love can be a difficult thing to master, especially when the boy you love is the same boy whose head you want to bash in. I guess that's an idea I used more than once. Wow. One trick pony, Nikki. Jeez. Come up with some new ideas. Jack/Roger. Unfortunately, no violence. Unfortunately, what was I writing? Jeez. And then in brackets, the title is based off the Marina and the Diamond song, in case you were not aware. Oh, this one's rated T. What was my other one rated? Oh, they were both rated T. The other one was Friendship and Romance. This is Romance and Drama. And it's Jack and Roger. Also published May 8th, 2013. Okay, right off the bat, we've got some italicized song lyrics from the title song. It only takes two lonely people to fuck love up and make it evil. I'm pretty sure when I was 14, saying the F word was like, whoa. Better watch out for me, man. I'm too hardcore. Anyway. All right. A grin of malice crossed his face as he chased the sow through the creepers. Her squeals screamed, "Kill me, eat me, do as you please." Who could ignore such an offer? Okay, right off the bat, the story is already better, or at least this section of writing is better. Because we're getting into Roger's head, where he's... Although we're not really getting into his head if you can see his face. Like, it's kind of an omniscient thing, but they're showing. And just the idea that the sow is just, like, communicating to Roger is very interesting. And, like, who could ignore such an offer? I actually like this, so off to an interesting start at least. Apparently all the other boys, save for one with an affinity for rocks, did not hear her sweet cries. Why is that the epithet that I chose for Roger? One with an affinity for rocks? What? Anyway, Ralph claimed he was worried, Piggy simply shook his head, and the twins gossiped among themselves whenever he strode by. Yet still one boy wasn't worried. An 11-year-old, with hair as dark as night and a soul to match. No, Roger seemed... What? Oh! Oh, this is from Jack's point of view. Okay, I take back my patting myself on the back, because that was not clear. I mean, maybe it's because I just read the other story that was from Roger's point of view that I assumed that it was Roger, but there is nothing... I mean, yeah, I guess if you're just not paying attention like me, you could think it was Roger, but I guess it's fairly clear that it's Jack, but it does come a little late for my personal taste. No, Roger seemed to love Jack's escapades, always listening intently to his stories. Or perhaps he was just pretending to. Morris claimed Roger could be quite two-faced. Jack believed him. Where is Morris coming here with this, like, gossip? Jeez. Morris is like, "Hey, Jack, you know Roger? He's a little shit." Morris is just sassy. Roger was an interesting spirit, and the only person Jack would admit he feared. The short sadist, I guess he must have been short in the book. The short sadist seemed to loathe everything and everyone, save for Jack and Morris to a certain extent. Is that Jack and Morris to a certain extent, or Jack and Morris to a certain extent? Ambiguous syntax, tisk tisk. He especially hated Ralph. I guess but now we're in Roger's point of view? Okay, Anyway, Jack noticed the ire boiling inside. No, I guess it's an omniscient story is what's happening here. Jack noticed the ire boiling inside Roger every time the blonde opened his mouth. What Jack didn't notice that should be were. Subject-verb agreement. What Jack didn't notice was the jealous glares when Ralph spoke to or touched Jack. Ralph didn't notice either. Yeah, I guess we're getting into everybody's point of view here. Hi, my memory card was being a little bitch, but we're back. Sorry if the camera changed a little bit. Jack gazed at the little ones playing in the sand. The fat sow in his hands dragged behind him as he noticed Roger throwing rocks at poor Robert. As one does, I guess. He looked into Roger's cold, dark eyes, and the short child nodded. Tonight, they would have a feast. Jack, Jack, Jack. That boy was always on Roger's mind. One could argue he was a bit obsessed. Roger didn't mind. Roger didn't mind that he was obsessed. Yeah, of course he wouldn't. Also, I need like the little tildes or the asterisks or something to differentiate from these POV changes because I'm like getting lost reading this. Speaking of Jack, he and Ralph had a fight. Oof, tense, that should have been had. Something about playing games and fires and other stupid things. And in the usual tactful Meridu manner, Jack stormed off in a temper tantrum, threatening to never return and to start a rivaling tribe. Okay, that's kind of funny. Worried that his threats were, for once, not idle, Roger followed the freckled child into the trees, hoping to find him alone. And vulnerable. Oof, this is getting dramatic. Roger loved Jack Meridu. Okay, wow, just coming in strong there. Roger loved Jack Meridu as much as the sadistic introvert. Again, he's not an introvert, he's just a, like, what's it called? The opposite of, like, a philanthropist, like, a misanthrope. He just hates people. Roger loved Jack Meridu as much as a sadistic introvert could love anyone. He still wanted to kick and punch the megalomaniac. That's a good descriptor of Jack. Perhaps leaving some bruises or drawing liters of blood. How many liters does a human body have? I feel like if you lost liters, you would be dead. A grin spread across his face at the mere thought. About him dying? I thought you liked him. Whatever. I think I was going for like a kind of sadist thing going on, because obviously Roger has some issues, but Yeah, I guess like a sexual sadist thing, or though not necessarily sexual. Anyway. The hell do you want, Roger? A shaky voice called out. So Jack had been crying. Roger frowned and faced the older boy. Just seeing if you're all right, Meridew, the melancholy boy replied. I don't know how I feel about that adjective. He's not really sad, he's just a bitch. Jack smiled weakly when he heard his surname. I kind of like this sentence because it's suggesting that he's he likes the power that's associated with being called by his surname, and he likes the authority that it gives him, but the sentence doesn't really elaborate that. I don't know, maybe it doesn't need to, maybe it says enough, but me sitting here, I'm like, yeah, that's what I meant to write, but did that come across, or is that just kind of a weird, he likes being called by his last name thing? I don't know. Are you here to join my tribe? Jack asked the 11-year-old. His blue eyes glanced over Roger's tan figure before looking back at his face. Why is he giving him a once-over? Anyway, perhaps, teased Roger. Jack was scared stiff. Perhaps? I think this is also kind of like that sadist thing, like, the perhaps was like, oh, Jack's like, oh shit, he's gonna torture me or kill me or something. I have some terms and conditions. Lay them out. I want to go on every pig hunt, of course. I want to be in charge of handling those who deserve punishment. You would. I want to be second in command. We'll see about that. I want you to kiss me. For once in his turbulent life, the whole world around Jack Meridew stood still. You what? You heard me. I won't join otherwise. Stop smirking like that. Why? Because I love you, Jack Meridew. Why else? I thought he was conflicted, or maybe that was the other story. Character consistency, am I right, guys? But you're a boy, and so am I. It doesn't work that way, Roger. Funny, that's what my father said. Oh man, this story just took a turn. Jesus. When was this book written? Like 1957? Like, obviously it was homophobic, but that's just a funny detail. 1954. ... Your father. I fancied you. There's some British slang. The only attempt I made to make them sound remotely British. Although I do have to laugh whenever I'm reading fanfiction with American or Canadian characters that was clearly written by someone who's English when they say like mum and stuff, and they don't even bother to try to make it sound American. I'm like, aha, clocked ya. I fancied you for quite a while, Jackie. Ugh. Meridew cringed at the pet name. Boy, me too. Oh my god. Roger continued. I told my pop. Is that what British people call their dads? Comment down below if you're British. I want to know. I told my pop. He hit me. He said boys shouldn't fancy other boys, and I should stop thinking about you like that. So I did. But then pretty Jack Meridew catapulted his way back into my life as leader of the choir boys on a deserted tropical island. So how could I ignore him? And now... Roger shoved Jack against a tree. A look of sheer terror crossed the redhead's face, and Roger whispered in his ear, It's just the two of us. I feel like I should have made this sentence shorter. It's like a million years long. I'm sitting here reading this. Like, who would say this to another human being? Also, that last line. It's just the two of us. Again, I think going back to, like, his fear. In hindsight, this is so cringy because of just, like, the stereotypes of predatory gay men and stuff. But also, it's just, like, it was supposed to be, like, a double thing. Like, in my mind, as I was writing this as a child, I wasn't like, oh, he's a sexual predator. I was like, he's a sadist, which isn't much better, but it was like sadism. It wasn't like a threat of rape or anything like that, but still a little sus. Shame on you, 14-year-old me. Jack refrained from screaming like a little girl, but his fear was still evident as he wriggled between Roger and the tree. Boy, that would hurt. He was probably shirtless. Ugh. For someone of his stature, the Raven was strong. Ugh, I hate that there are no good words for people with black hair. It's like raven, noirette, which is stupid. It's just like, you can't just say like blonde or brunette or towhead or redhead. There's just no good word for someone with black hair. Like, I could say brunette, but that doesn't really, that could be like my color hair. That could be like really mousy brown hair. It just doesn't sound right. Roger smiled sweetly, removing his hands from Jack's shoulders and placing them on his face. He stroked the rebel's cheek with his thumb, and the tall boy shivered. Oh man, we got some fanfiction vibes going. I mean, obviously this is fanfiction, but like, the shivering. The thumb. He stroked his cheek with his thumb, like, I guess, like, I don't know. That's, Anyway, so, how about that kiss? The younger boy sneered. Jack felt so nauseous from fear, he thought he would puke. Really telling you what's going on there. There's no way I could have shown that, is there? You can't reach my lips from there, Shorty, he stuttered with an air of bravado. a small smile cracking at his brilliance. Me writing this sentence. Roger tilted his head. I suppose not, but he stood on the balls of his feet. How about now? Why didn't I just say he stood on his tiptoes? That's such a weird way to phrase that. Before Jack could respond, he felt a pair of chapped lips press against his own. Oh man, the chapped lips of fanfiction. Literally every time, well, not every time, but a lot of the time when you read / fanfiction, particularly if the POV character or whoever's perspective you're reading from has never kissed another guy, they're always like, and they have kissed women, they're always like, his lips weren't like women, which were soft and like delicate. His lips were chapped and rough. And it's like, I'm sitting here like, I have chapped lips. Not all females have their shit together. A wave of panic washed over him. He had never kissed anyone, let alone a boy. What was he supposed to do? I don't know why I put that in parentheses instead of just like, comma, but whatever. His anxiety came to an end when Roger removed his lips and plopped back on his heels. The small boy erupted into a volcano of laughter. Man, that image though. I guess I had to use some imagery in this story, and there it is, right there, that one sentence. What is it? What's so funny? No, prepare yourselves for this. You're a horrible kisser, Jack Meridew. Oh man, when I wrote that line, I was like, I'm a genius, I'm a visionary, give me all the literary awards, comedy writer of the year. And it's just so silly. It's just like, I mean, I don't know, it seems out of place just with the like, I mean, the story was like kind of going for such a dark tone. It's like those horror stories like when the log rolls over, we all die, that are like so ominous and creepy and scary. You're like, oh, what's gonna happen? And it's just something stupid or silly at the end. I feel like that's kind of the vibe I was going for with this line. Yeah, what a way to end this story. Oh, this story has reviews. Oh my gosh, the other story didn't have any. Let's read these reviews. Jesus Christ. I do think the other one's actually better than this. I don't know. I'm not super into this. How do you read reviews? Oh my god, I haven't been on fanfiction so long. Okay, these were all from I'm going to go in chronological order here. Part of me wants to go ah at the ending, and part of me wants to shiver at how well done Roger's personality is. And I've forgotten how much I love this ship. Just, overall, you did a wonderful job. I guess his character's better in this story than it was in the other one, but that's a pretty low bar, but thank you, Collie. Bravo, very well done. Your characterization of Roger was spot on. Not only was he twisted and sadistic, but he was sadly vulnerable too. And a little bit of humor in it lightened the mood of the overall story. See, I think that's what I was trying to go for. Thank you, Thestral Seeker 17. It's so funny read. I wonder if I read these when I was younger. That would have been an ego trip. This is really, really good and it was written amazingly. I love the way you write your sentences and bring life into the characters. Please continue. Oh, this was a one-shot. All the stories I wrote were one-shots, and I tend to read one-shots. I'm not like into the huge like 500,000 word like 50 chapter type fanfictions. I like small, contained stories. So sorry to this person who wanted a continuation of this story, but I don't know. I think the continuation is that they start dating and then everything goes to hell. I think this is a rather interesting story, and I hope that you continue. Oh, this person wants that too. When I saw the title, I thought it was a song called Seduction by Eminem. Interesting. I'll have to look that up. Roger and Jack are my two favorite people. Interesting favorite people. Love the touch about Roger telling his father about his crush. Good job. I do think that could have, like, I was 14 when I wrote this. I wasn't a literary visionary. I didn't even know that I wanted to be a writer professionally, I think, at that point. I think I was more interested in illustration than going into screenwriting or writing of any kind. And just, like, reading these reviews, I don't know if these people knew how old I was when I wrote this. I wonder if that would change their opinion or not, but it's nice to see, like, encouraging stuff, but also just, like, the things I thought I did well were so interesting. And the thing with, like, Roger talking to his dad, now that I'm so much more knowledgeable about LGBT history and just like what was going on during World War II, because that's kind of when this story's set, I think I really could have taken that aspect in an interesting direction. I think like these people asking for a sequel or whatever, I think I could have written so much with this concept. The problem is that it's so bare bones, like it's 882 words. I'm writing a script for another video that's already double that. I'm just barely reaching the surface with the topics discussed in it. So I also think it's interesting that they like the characterization, because I was ripping on myself for point of view, which is something I still struggle with. In my most recent fiction writing class, I wrote a story from this one character's point of view and kind of what was initially supposed to be an objective third, and then I'm like, that didn't happen. So it was kind of more of a limited omniscient third. But for my revision for that story, I just completely rewrote the entire thing from a different character's point of view in a close third instead of the more omniscient or objective. And so reading these stories, seeing the POV all over the place, it's interesting because like that's something I still struggle with, but like not to toot my own horn. My favorite thing about my own writing and the stories that I come up with are the characters, and to see that in my fan fiction that still came out is very interesting. Anyway, I don't really know what the point of this video is now. I feel like at first I was just like preparing to cringe the whole time, but it's actually kind of sweet to read work that I wrote when I was so much younger and to see how I've improved and how my writing style has changed and how my interests have shifted over the past 6 years. Yeah, it's interesting and it's nice. And for those of you who wrote fan fiction when you were younger and are afraid to go look back at it for fear of cringe, I encourage you to look at what you wrote and to see how you've improved, how things have changed, and your interests in storytelling and writing have changed, how your fandoms have changed. Like I said, these are the only 2 I ever published, and I remember I don't think I ever finished it. I don't even know if I ever wrote it, but I was interested in writing a Ralph and Piggy fan fiction when I was in high school or in middle school. And I've never written, like actually typed or written anything down for any other fandoms I've been in, but coming up with like supplemental stories is still something I'm interested in, even if I never published them online like I did when I was younger. And I still read a bunch of fan fiction. But yeah, I don't really know how to end this video. And it just, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!